There are a few things we know must change for transformation to occur: the practices that teams use day to day, the culture and the mindset of the organization, and the systems people work within. All three are critical, but where you start can make or break how successful you are in the end. So, before you embark on your Agile journey, you have a choice to make. Will you start with culture, practices, or systems? If you start with culture, you're betting on the fact that changing culture will lead to the practice improvements and systems changes necessary to sustain business agility. Resistance to change is something more tangible we can see and feel, so it's a tempting idea to point to culture so we can get a sense of that. It also seems like a quick win when people are suddenly excited about the possibilities of Agile. But that excitement quickly diminishes once the culture crashes into the harsh realities of deep-rooted practices and the systemic organizational issues that make Agile impossible to implement. Before you know it, your people are cynical, disillusioned, and left wondering why everyone doesn't just get it. And even though everyone is saying the right things and doing the right things, the results aren't showing up. If culture isn't the answer, maybe we start with practices instead. Starting with practices is also something easy to point to. It feels good to know we're trying something new. We put people through training and hire coaches to support the teams and sustain the things we learn. Then we can point to all the certifications and ceremonies and say, see, we are Agile now. But starting with practices is predicated on the assumption that adopting practices at the team level will yield an understanding of the impediments that are preventing agility in the first place. This approach also assumes that we're able to identify and resolve those issues. The problem is that even if we can identify the root causes of the issues, the solutions are outside of the team's capabilities. Plus, they don't have the agency to resolve them. Many impediments are structural, organizational, technical, or have to do with governance. To resolve these issues, we'll need executive support, funding, and time. Meanwhile, our teams are left going through the motions of Agile without realizing any of the benefits. The reality is that both practices and culture can only thrive if the system they're applied in is conducive to their existence. Agile requires a specific team formation strategy and a clearly articulated plan for what we're going to form those teams around. Agile necessitates a specific strategy for how requirements are defined, how the teams will process those requirements, and how they will deliver them to their customers. Agile requires that we strategically measure progress in a way that's meaningful to executives and creates transparency. Agile demands that we build the system first. Only then can we enable that system with practices that are respectful and aware of our organization's constraints and support and reinforce culture change over time. Failing to build the right system will ultimately work against everything we do to install practices and indoctrinate people into an Agile culture. And while a systems-first approach may not be the easiest place to start, it's definitely the most effective approach for creating long-lasting, sustainable changes in the organization.